All right, all right, all right, all right. Let me get everything set up on my end here. What's up, YouTube? What's going on, everybody? It is October the 28th, 2018. It's another week. 2 weeks after the GIE. I guess this would be the second weekend after the GIE. We're back. I put John Ware into timeout, and I don't know how to get him out of it. I didn't realize it was actually going to work. I apologize, John Ware. I did it as a joke. It's 5 minutes. I hope you'll be back soon. I made you a moderator for the rest of it just to say sorry because I messed up. Welcome, everybody. And if you don't know what time it is, it's that time of week where we dive into the nitty-gritty, deep, dirty, wild west of everything that's going on in the lawn care world. Coming back after the GIE, man, talk about a really, really wild time out there. It was fantastic, everything that we got to experience. I'm sure you've seen on the videos. Lots of time spent with Alan Hain, Grass Daddy, Ryan Nor, Pete with GCI Turf. I mean, it was just Jake the Lawn Kid. We had just a tremendous time out there. It was really, really, really fun. Also, I guess my big thing with the GIE was the Carbon X pre-order launch. So basically what we're doing, because we're a startup, we are trying to get a good grip on what our ramp-up schedule needs to be able to make sure we're fulfilling orders on a good time frame. So we launched the Carbon X pre-order. We're offering a special introductory price. Those of you that are interested in it, I will post a link in the chat. Check it out. Whether you plan on buying now, later, never, whatever, fill it out, send it to us, tell us we suck, tell us you love us, whatever you want to do. We'll contact you, and we'll have us a good old conversation about it. So, appreciate everybody sticking through that one. Now, let's move on to the fun part of the evening where we open it up. Boys and girls, is roll call. Jump over in the chat here. People are kind of starting to get a little things going over in the chat before I chimed in. Let me make my way to the top. Of course, Richard Nettles first. Richard Nettles, how are you doing, good sir? We've been having a real good time over at the Discord. For those of you that have never been to the Discord, woo, you are missing out. The Discord is a real-time, live, 247 interactive hangout chat with a bunch of really awesome lawn guys. We got everybody over there from Alan Hain to Grass Daddy to Real Low Dad and John Ware and Non-Mastery Productions, Mr. Gillespie, and we have a good time over there. Mr. Chris Wong, Colonel Corn. And anyway, I posted a link to the Discord if you'd like to join us over there. I will warn you, it's not for the faint of heart. It's guys being guys. There are no women of the group yet. Eric Von Waddell, how are you, good sir? This is your roll call. Chris, wah. How are you, sir? That is French for Voigt. Chris Boy, that is French for Voigt. Thomas Giandon, how are you, good sir? John Ware, I hope you're close to being back out of timeout. I apologize. Colonel Corn, how are you, good sir? Mark! Brian Hale, how are you? Mr. Gillespie, yes, this is all about fixing cars. In fact, we're so into fixing cars, we'll tell you how to take nitrogen from your exhaust system, inject it right into your grass, and give you a ass lawn. How about them apples? Popo and Song Lawn Care. It was a wonderful time meeting you and your lovely significant other. We had a great time with the GIE, didn't we? Can I have one with Alan Hay? Why, yes, we can. I'm sure we could set something up like that. I think we have us a good old time on the Grass Factor live stream, if you know what I'm saying. John Teague, you're right, sir. It's getting cold. Lots of intermediate frost and all that kind of weird fun stuff. So we are officially in transition with your Bermuda grasses and warm season turf types in Knox Vegas. Hello, Brett Schmidt from Southern Indiana. How are you, good sir? Real Low Dad, Mike. What's up, dude? Shane Brady. Hey, man, welcome aboard. It's good to see you again, Shane. Hope your season is doing pretty good. Tony Tillman, T. Anthony Tillman, my buddy from the PLCA. There are any professional lawn care applicators in here? Are there any? If so, you can find us over on the Spacebook, Professional Lawn Care Applicators, PLCA. However, you will be screened aggressively. You do have to go through a special lineup of rigorous test questions and all kinds of fun facts in order to be accepted into that group. Just warning you now. Just warning you now. Don't try it, homeowners. I'm telling you, the admins over there are tough. Bird Dog, woof, woof. Kevin, LCN, woof, woof. Telly, Coleman, woof, woof. What's up, y'all? All my buddies in here. That is good to see. John Pinkerton, can I foliarly apply biochar on my crabgrass, John? I do not think I will be able to help you there, sir. There's something that has to happen with the interaction of biochar and the soil where you can't quite apply it that way. As close as you could get to foliarly apply biochar, it would not have a foliar effect. You could apply it in a micronized liquid form. Basically, you would pulverize the biochar up to like a 5 micron where it could pass through a pump. And one thing you have to keep in mind, it would not work with a piston, with a diaphragm pump. Carbon is very abrasive. And so having that in your pump in its raw form, like biochar, even if it is micronized, it will destroy your diaphragm. So I do not recommend applying it that way through a pump sprayer. You would have to do something like a hose-in sprayer. You could probably get away doing that. All right. Willie Lombos, how are you, good sir? Kyle, Ben, y'all, what's up, man? Troy Wartner, how are you, good sir? What's going on? Cat Bird Feeder. My lady friend down in Mississippi, bringing the peace of home to the chat. What's up from West Covina, California? Marco Canchola, how are you, good sir? Turf Nerd, David Watkins. David Watkins. I'm going to turn it down that time. Terry Finch, how are you, good sir? All right. Hey, everybody. Now, let's get into the meet and greet and dirty dog days of the show. For those of you, this is your first time tuning in, let me give you a little bit about how this goes. I open the chat up to whatever it is you would like to ask questions about, as long as it pertains to lawn and or quote-unquote garden stuff. I will tell you I'm not an expert when it comes to gardening or ornamentals. However, I do have a little bit more of a foundation in turf grass. I'm no expert by any means, but I have an affinity to learn the science behind everything that pertains to turf. I don't know it all, but I am a lifetime student. So I will open the floor up, and in the event I can't answer your question, I will answer your question. If I can't answer your question, I will tell you that I cannot answer your question. But please submit your questions in the chat, and I will get to them one by one. If I miss it, do not hesitate to ask again. Sometimes I overlook them. Sometimes I have mistakes. I make mistakes, and this is free-flowing, baby. So bear with me. I do the best I can. Good seeing you at GIE. GG Turf, what's up, man? I was not a linebacker. I was not much of a football player, really. I played more golf and basketball than anything, man. Lawn care nut. Alan Hain in the his house. 74, man. That had to have been brutal down your way. All right, I carved the spread the guts across the lawn versus garbage. Will this help with organic matter and nutrients into my soil? Don't laugh at me. Okay, this is a serious question. I carved some pumpkins and spread the guts across the lawn. Okay, will that provide organic matter? Yes, it will. So it's going to have to go through a decomposition process. And here's something that happens when it does go through the decomposition process. It is going to actually use nitrogen during that decomposition. So typically what you'll see happen sometimes, like if you use wood chips, for instance, you pile up wood chips or you grind down a stump and you try and grow something over it, it will rob all that nitrogen from the soil where the microbes are feeding on it to get going and active and stuff. So this time of year, being where we are, you probably won't see any sort of negative impact, and it would really require just probably like an entire patch of pumpkins to cause any kind of issues. So what you did, Bird Dog, is actually very good because that can be composted through microbial activity, through decomposition, mineralized into usable nutrients that the soil and ultimately plants can utilize. Yeah, definitely not a bad thing. Don't bury your yard in it. But if it's one of those things you spread across the yard, absolutely. You got it. Ain't no problem there. Eli for show. Hey, man, it's coming. It's coming. What's that kind of award? Yard's done right. Jim and Duty Beverage up in Ohio. How are y'all? All right, crabgrass is turning purple now. How many people have seen purple crabgrass? Let me tell you why you see purple crabgrass. When you begin having cooler temperatures outside in combination with shorter daylight hours, the plant begins to go through a period of aging called senescence. Senescence is the aging of a plant. One of the first symptoms you can see of senescence is purpling or a browning or a color change. Different pigments begin to move in. In trees with senescence, a lot of times that's a signifier that we're entering into the transition period of winter. You'll get this color change. With crabgrass, you'll get this color change that tends to go more towards purple. It's like when you apply quinclorac to it, you artificially age that plant into a death state, and that's why it turns purple and responds that way. So yes, crabgrass is turning purple. Thank you, senescence. Getting out of season, I know, but I'm trying to get a better understanding of the disease and confused on how to know the difference between brown patch and leaf spot melting out. Okay, great question, Gillespie, and I'll explain it to you this way. So leaf spot melting out typically occurs when you're beginning to have warmer days, so we'll say 70 plus, and you're still having cooler nights, 40 to 50 degrees, kind of that time frame, and periods of high humidity and lots of rain. So what you do is you basically deoxygenate the root zone. You increase the humidity at the soil surface, so that's going to be the transpiration between the plant and the atmosphere. Really jack up that humidity, and then on the lower side of temperature fluctuations, so 70-40, 70-50, that is prime time for melting out. Now, you take that set, those conditions, humidity, cooler temperatures, 70-40s, and then you move it up to higher temperatures, high humidity, higher temperatures. So we'll say 85, 65 now are the temperature set you're working with. Guaranteed, those same spots where you have leaf spot and melting out will now develop into brown patch. So as far as getting a better understanding on how to handle it, it would ultimately be about the same way you would handle brown patch. Now, being a spot disease, understand you're probably not going to get the same level of aggressive control from a strobilurin that you would on a patch disease. So this may be somewhere you want to lean a little bit heavier on something like a DMI or a contact in order to eliminate your leaf spot melting out issues versus brown patch, you want to lean heavily on a strobilurin combined with the DMI. So I hope that answers your questions. Usually the sequence of disease will look like this. You've got, like snow mold, gray snow mold, pink snow mold, fusarium blight. Then you move into leaf spot, melting out, red thread, and then you move into brown patch, and then you move into pythium, and then you move back into brown patch, and then you move back into usually rust after that. And then you might get a little bit of leaf spot melting out in the fall, but usually is really rare because, especially like a year like this where temperatures just go wow. And once you start getting that frost, like once you have a frost, basically, you're pretty much done having to work about leaf spot or melting out. I hope that answers your question. That's a great question, Alan. Hey, while he's in the chat, somebody asked him, Alan, when are you going to be a live guest on the show? See, a lot of research saying high nitrogen fert before winter is a waste of time. Do you agree with that? Thomas Giandon, no, I do not necessarily agree with that. High nitrogen fert. Now, this is where we can get into this. If we want to talk about quick release versus slow release, that is where we can have a lot of argument. There's lots of philosophies leading into wintertime fertilization. The whole premise behind, the quote unquote fall nitrogen blends, or even, like a high nitrogen winterizer fertilizer, is because nitrogen is very stable in cooler temperatures. It's not going to move a whole lot, and you're not going to have a lot of denitrification taking place. So what happens is that it will remain there stagnant in the soil until it gets to be utilized in the spring. And it will help, from a professional perspective, getting those lawns greened up faster. And I don't think there's any research that will deny that, because a lot of the research, what they're saying is that, well, you just go out in February with your first rate. Okay, yeah, that's fine. But what's the problem? What the problem is that if you've got to get to 250 customers, your window to start treating begins on January 15th. On January 20th, you get to be 77 degrees. And everything that had fall nitrogen applied has just blown up out of the ground and is screaming green. But you've still got 6 weeks left until you get to that last customer on your list. And by the time you get there, everybody's yard already looks super awesome. And that customer is knocking on your door wondering, hey, where you're at? My yard doesn't look anywhere near as good as my neighbor's. So if you have the ability as a homeowner to stay on top of it and not be, not have to worry about the timing of it all, yeah, I could see that. You may not have to. You can apply a 1/4 pound in the fall, and then February time frame. I'm just using February as a whatever. I mean, that's just a random time frame. February, you can put out another 1/4 pound. Yeah, you're going to be fine. If you're a professional, I'm going to recommend that in the fall, in November time frame, put out a 1/2 pound. Just put it out. And don't put it out as a slow release. Put it out as a quick release. You're paying for slow release, but you're going to be utilizing the natural physiology of the plant, the natural physiology of the environment to take care of the slow release for you. So there's no reason to pay for that at that time frame. Save your money. Invest it somewhere else. Use another biostimulant or something in conjunction with your Winter In app. So that's my rant. I'm sticking to it. We're moving on. A lawn care affair in the house. That's what I'm talking about. What about red thread, Chris? What? We'll talk a little bit about red thread. This is one of the biggest things that kind of gets in my crawl about red thread is that if you have red thread, it's because you're deficient in nitrogen. No, that's not always the case. Nitrogen deficiency is not a causation of red thread. The conditions are the causation of red thread. It can be a contributing factor, but it is not the dominating factor to why you develop red thread. And if you've never seen red thread is very easily non-mistakable because you actually have red threads growing out of what appears to be the grass blades. It's not the grass blades turning red, it's you actually have red threads growing out of it. That is the fruiting body of the fungus. That's why they call it red thread, because you literally get red threads growing out of it. Now, treating red thread, you can push it with nitrogen to grow it out. Same thing with some instances of dollar spot. Instances of dollar spot doesn't always mean you're nitrogen deficient, but you can correct dollar spot with a little bit of nitrogen to push it out. So don't get too hung up on nitrogen and fertilizer and red thread. That's not always the case. They tend to correlate more than they do cause. So how about that? And again, that's going to happen springtime and a little bit in the fall, but mostly just springtime. How long does RTF stay in sprout and pout? My lawn is 45 days old and stuck in the 3 to 4 leaf stage. Gary Evans, it's going to be that way till next year, buddy. I'll tell you right now. When it comes out next year, it's going to come out with a vengeance. But it's not going to come out until you start getting some hot days on it. So probably February of next year is when you'll get a little bit of growth and development over winter. It's not going to be anything to write home about. It's not going to change your life. But February next year, March of next year, it's going to explode out of the ground like you've never seen. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Okay, marking blue is not the answer, but what else can I do besides 128 ounces of ironite over 4,000 square feet to give me more boom? Need it by Tuesday. There is no answer to that, Real Low Dad. So the problem is that you've run into a situation now where temperature is not working on your side. So what happens is that you're relying on the uptake and the movement throughout the plant. And when soil temperatures are hovering around 50 degrees, you're not getting that fast action response from it. So chances are the plant has taken in everything it's going to take in. Now you just got to wait for it to produce the chlorophyll to be able to give you that visual response from it that you're looking for. So no, marking blue is not the answer. The answer is time, because you applied the products. Now you have to apply the time. Colonel Corn, when will Greene County Fertilizer have foliarly applied mycorrhizae available for sale? I do not know. I've been asked that a couple times. I do not have the answer to that. I've never heard of foliarly applied mycorrhizae, and it doesn't work that way because there has to be soil interaction for mycorrhizae to work. Mycorrhizae is the symbiotic relationship between soil and roots. It's a fungal thing. It's a fungus that has this. It creates this harmonious relationship in the soil and the roots, between the roots and the soil. It helps unlock things and helps roots talk to each other. That's why trees oftentimes will have root systems from one tree tied up into another, and they work very harmoniously. And it's because of the mycorrhizae in the soil. You can't apply that foliarly and have it taken up into the leaves or anything, because it doesn't do anything. It has to be root zone applied. So I don't know where that's coming from. Matt, talk fall fungus forming. Had a humid fall in the Northeast. Lots of people wondering if brown patch or dollar spot would need a fungicide still with cooler temps. Matt Condit, probably not. No, brown patch is not going to be a thing. Even if you had a humid fall, chances are you're still way too cool for brown patch. Brown patch should be well long gone. If you're still seeing it, you're still seeing damage. You're not seeing active disease. What I would do is apply a fast release fertilizer like ammonium sulfate, where you're getting a nitrogen plus a micro/macro nutrient sulfur that'll be taken up into the plant. That will also help draw up manganese and also iron to help push that out. I think you'll be good to go there. I have 2 Bermudas in my lawn, common and 419. How do I get rid of my common only? Multiple applications of Roundup. That is going to be the only thing you have to do. Unfortunately, there's nothing you can do to selectively control one or the other. My wife and my son are working on a school project, and that is really cute. That's cute, Asami. That is cute, if you can hear me. I love it. Okay. Let me move on here. The Alabama University Extension says that nitrogen applied to Bermuda late in the season could do more harm than good. Yes, Richard Nettles. That's the other thing. Fall applied nitrogen, when I was talking about that, I was talking about cool season grass. If we're talking about a Bermuda grass, absolutely. You should not be applying fall nitrogen to warm season turf. Not at all. Do not do it. Don't do it. If you've never had spring dead spot, you're very much welcoming spring dead spot into your life. Do not welcome spring dead spot into your life. There's lots of things that can go wrong with fall applied nitrogen to warm season grasses. Don't do it. What about something like blindside to kill ryegrass and dormant zoysia? My neighbor always lays the rye seed pretty, and it makes it into all the neighbors' yards. Yeah, you could use blindside or just use MSM for the ryegrass. That's assuming that it is ryegrass that's coming up. Yep, you will be good to go there. Is it good to kill? Oh, I got kicked down. Let me see here. Let me make my way up. I did not see who even asked that question. Woo! We got comments coming in galore right here. I have been running my mouth and not moving through the questions. Is it good to kill a mostly common Bermuda area now before winter and prepare for a renovation in the spring? Just wait. Tell me, I would get it sprayed now and then spray it again in the spring at the first sign of green up. I mixed up some Kingsford charcoal briquettes, a bunch of bananas, match heads, sushi wrappers, diluted it down with some household ammonia, marking blue. What kind of effect can I expect? I think this is a joke. But if we actually work through this, this is very interesting. I love how this goes. Kingsford charcoal briquettes. The one problem with charcoal versus biochar is that charcoal has a higher amount. I'll play this game, Gravy. Look out. I'll play this game with you right now. Charcoal has too many hydrocarbons in it. If you could burn that charcoal in an oxygen-free environment, put it through a pyrolysis process, get rid of those hydrocarbons, burn them off, maybe put it through a thermal oxidizer so that way you're not putting a bunch of hydrocarbons into the atmosphere, then you would be left with a raw carbon source. You take a bunch of bananas, you've got some organic matter. Yes, let those begin to break down. Match heads, you got a little phosphorus. Sushi wrappers, you're talking about seaweed. I see where you're going with this. Diluted it down with some household ammonia. You're doing a high pH extraction on all of it. I see. What kind of effect can I expect? Assuming you use an appropriate amount of household ammonia, you should be able to get a good effect. The question would be, how would you apply that in a sludge? I don't have that answer. But from a scientific perspective, everything you described should work. However, good luck. Time Master or Honda, corporate HQ, man, I have no idea. I've never used either of them, so I have no idea, man. No idea. I think you said scout Bermuda when dormancy breaks. Yes, typically I will scout mine in March. I overseeded heavy this fall. Would like to do a dormant seed as well to help thin some spots. Spots. I didn't put down a pre-em. Can I still in Ohio? What about spring with a dormant seed? If you plan on dormant seeding, no, you cannot put down a pre-emergent. So I would off on that one. Yeah, unfortunately, that's just one of those things. If you still plan on putting down more seed, you can't put down pre-emergent. Especially you start talking about going into dormant seeding and that, you couldn't apply your pre-emergent until your dormant seeding begin to come up and come in. Sounds a little bit like a nightmare. If you're dealing with some thin spots, I did a video that talked about the spacing of germination in plants. I think some people get it in their head that they need it really tight as it comes up. It does not need to be really tight when it comes up. It needs a little space to grow, breathe, airflow, and then the plants will mature. You got to think a fescue plant, when it matures, it's going to cover 6 inches in all directions. Where it's going to start with 1, 2, 3 leaflets, it's going to cover 6 inches. It needs that space to expand. Give it a little space. What do you think of wood pellets applied to a lawn as a source of carbon? Yes, you can do that. We were talking about wood earlier. Wood, when it biodegrades, it's going to consume a lot of nitrogen out of the soil. So to combat those wood pellets apply, you would want to up your nitrogen rates for a little while to help the biodegradation of those wood pellets. Please help. I applied microbiology to my lawn, but it resulted in a nitrogen deficiency. I don't know what is happening. I don't know what is happening. Ridge Runner, do not tell anybody to do that. Ridge Runner, I'm going to have to delete that comment purely out of the safety of everybody who potentially reads that. I apologize. It's nothing personal, but I have to delete that. The buttonweed is turning purple. Yes, it is dying. Why is my Canadian cherry trying to bloom? That is a great question, Chris. I do not know. I do not know the answer. The only thing I could think is that you have some sort of hybrid cherry that is attempting to second bloom like an encore azalea would. That is a really interesting thing. I'm going to have to look into the genetics of an encore azalea to figure out what makes it bloom twice. If anybody knows what makes it bloom twice, post so in the comments because that is interesting to me. I seeded this fall with fescue. Seeding was during September and October. Will I have any adverse effects on the root system if I apply prodiamine at full rate in February? Matt Kosinski! What's up, big guy? No, sir, probably not. Well, here's the thing. In reality, will it have an adverse effect on the root system? Yeah, it will. How much so? Probably not enough to give you a visual impact. Unfortunately, it's just a necessary evil. There's no way around it. So if you want to have a nice yard next year, you're probably going to have to apply prodiamine at a full, maybe not a full rate, but at 1 pound of active ingredient to get your coverage for your, grassy weeds, your crabgrass. Will that have a negative effect? Yes, to a point. There was some studies actually over on the professional side of things where we talked about some studies that talked about the negative effects that prodiamine had on root systems. And prodiamine was pretty bad. And, Ray Green Doc has suggested before that dimension is even worse than prodiamine. In this particular study, it talked about St. Augustine and dithiopyr impact on St. Augustine roots. Dithiopyr in sandy soil on St. Augustine roots was brutal. It was brutal in retrospect compared to the other pre-emergent. So will it have a negative effect? Yes. But does that mean you shouldn't do it? Probably not. The lawn guardian, what's going on, man? You got some nutsedge in the lawn. The cool temps are killing it. But should I just let it be for now and kill it next year? Or should I spray it now? Lawn guardian, chances are if you spray it now, the herbicide is not going to be taken up. So I would go ahead and let it run through the remainder of this year, tackle it next year as it comes out. That's right, Manor, MSM, methylfuron methyl. Oh, real quick, Lambert 1702, I will give you the same warning I give over and over and over and over when I'm talking about methylfuron methyl. When we're talking about methylfuron methyl, MSM is particularly hard on woody tissued plants. So we're talking about oak trees, trees in general. At a ½ ounce per acre, 0.5 ounces per acre, you're killing weeds. At 1 ounce per acre, you are killing lawns. At 2 ounces per acre, you're killing trees. Just keep that in mind. It is serious stuff. I have a cocktail of RGS microgreen aerate urea that's already diluted with water. How long would that stay good? Assuming I shake it well before using. Not very long, Pinkerton. And yeah, it'll be okay. But what's going to happen is that urea will ammonianize and volatilize. So the longer it stays in solution, the quicker the nitrogen content will drop. So just keep that in mind. How long? I don't know. A week? Maybe not even a week. Maybe like 3 or 4 days, something like that. New question. Does clover die completely in the winter below zero? Does it just go dormant? Dave, it's really interesting. What it does is that it flips over upside down. It looks like it got sprayed with 2,4-D. Rarely do I see it die. But then again, I've never seen it in below zero weather. It doesn't get below zero here. So I see it frozen and freezing, and it curls and flips upside down. It melts, thaws out, and it comes right back side up and looks perfectly normal. Colonel, I see that. I'm having lots of St. Augustine with brown patch or leaf spot. This seems to happen each year around this time. What is best to control this? Okay, now this is what's interesting. Yard therapy in St. Augustine and zoysia grass in warm season markets, what you're seeing a lot of, so further south, so we're talking about like Georgia up to maybe Atlanta, coastal South Carolina, Florida. St. Augustine is in its brown patch period. So you're getting cool nights, okay temperatures during the day. So below 85 during the day and below 65 at night. This is the polar opposite of what you see. Same issue. Is it Rhizoctonia solani? Exact same species that affects fescue also will affect St. Augustine, but it affects it at the opposite time of year. Now it's beginning to have it. So what is the best to control that? Yard therapy, same thing. Because it's still Rhizoctonia solani, the same way you would treat it in fescue is how you would treat it in St. Augustine. So a strobilurin like azoxystrobin and in combination with the DMI like propiconazole. Azoxystrobin plus propiconazole is going to do great things for your St. Augustine. I think you'll like it. Lowest order $650. Is that correct, Matt? Do I need NXT products and Carbon X? I know it's conflict of interest, but need the true knowledge. Okay, Corporate HQ, I will post a link where I gave a mock-up program of utilizing Carbon X alongside the liquids. So Carbon X is infused with RGS, so you do not need to apply that at the same time. Does that mean you don't need to apply it at all? Well, no, it doesn't. But at least in the gist of that application, you do not need to apply it. So it's a cost savings deal there. In particular, this program that I wrote up looked a little bit like this. Carbon X, round 1, Carbon X, round 2, round 3, Air 8, round 4, Green Effect in RGS, round 5, Green Effect, Dethatch, round 6, Carbon X, Air 8, round 7, Ammonium Sulfate in RGS. That's a pretty basic program, but that's actually a very effective program. If somebody wanted to run that and test it, I guarantee you, you will love it. Don't think you can go wrong there. I posted a link to that. I put it out on the lawn forum. We were talking about it in the New Jersey one. So there you go. That is some true knowledge. No, it is not designed to replace the liquids. Carbon X, any fertilizer is designed to work harmoniously with a liquid. So it's not a conflict of interest. That's just the way it is. Now, Carbon X does provide someone that does a granular application a little bit more diversity in their product portfolio to be able to apply, whereas liquid guys have already had that and have already been doing that. Granular guys haven't had that opportunity. Now they do. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, hey, thank you, Non-Mastery Productions, Mr. Gillespie. Thank you, sir. Whiteboard fungus video in the future, that is sure. Oh, boy! I did not realize the United We Mow fundraiser ends at midnight. For those of you that do not know, Midnight Standard Time is, please, if you can afford it, hop over to the United We Mow fundraiser. I will have an inbound link coming shortly. What it is Rodney Smith. So the lawn care community came together via YouTube thanks to a ton of people. But really, I'll tell you who exactly spearheaded this, and it's the Lawn Guardian. Ben spearheaded this whole thing. He got all of us to unite around Rodney Smith, and I think John Ware just posted the statistic there. We've raised a significant amount of cash. If you can, buy a t-shirt. If you can, donate a little money to it, because this is going to benefit and uplift our community and someone who's doing something really positive in our community. It ends at midnight. Show some love. It is it's bigger than us. So, we should all do something to play our part if we can. All right, there's that link. Jay Roderick, what's going on, good sir? Good to see you in here. JP told me yesterday at the meetup that urea would not be good for weatherization final app because it won't stay in the lawn. That it will gasify or something. He said to use ammonium sulfate. True. Yeah, Connor, so I like ammonium sulfate more than I do urea because ammonium sulfate is in a plant usable form. I don't usually recommend it I don't recommend urea for that final app because, again, you have to rely on that conversion of urea to interact with urease to become NH3 and CO2. So NH3 will be in a gas form. However, if it's cool enough outside, what happens is that it just doesn't convert. It doesn't interact with urease. And so it just sits there as urea, and then it could be subjected to, leaching and runoff. So typically, winterizer apps, you will always hear me say ammonium sulfate. So there you go. I plan on overseeding my lawn again. My first time seeding didn't germinate well. I just received my biostim pack. What part of the pack should I use in conjunction with my seeding for optimal growth? Willie, I don't know everything that's in the biostim pack. I'll be honest, I don't know it. So what I would recommend is something like RGS, Miners, and 2100 ammonium sulfate. I think that is as good as you can get for an optimal growth on your seeding. So there you go. What's up, Andy Burleson, dropping some science knowledge on us? How about them apples? Good to see you in here, sir, all the way up in the Oregon. And this place is flowing. Marco, thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, let me kind of move through here. It doesn't get any better than AMS right now. That's what I'm talking about. Can I use ammonium sulfate with manganese? Yes. Ammonium sulfate will help increase the uptake of manganese. So, yes, absolutely. There's a Soap City Lawn Care. What's up, man? Have you ever done any studies on hydrotane or have any thoughts about its effects? I haven't done any any personal studies with hydrogen, but its effects are pretty well noted. I mean, it works well. It's a moisture manager. Moisture manager is a very good product. Lesco sells it. I've used it with renovations and with hydroseeding, and it works very well. So if you're asking, does it work? Yes, absolutely it does. Soil test a month ago showed my pH in the 6.0, 6.5 range. Should I apply lime now or first thing in the spring located in Western PA? Greg Pawanda, don't apply lime. If you're at a 6 to a 6.5, don't apply lime. You're in the sweet spot, baby. You are in the sweet spot. There was a bunch of people, Casey Turner. I can't remember everybody that was off the top of the head, but it was Payjack. It was Picture Perfect Lawn Maintenance. And it was Robert in New Jersey. I can't remember the name of his company off the top of my head, but he's Robert. Michael Wassenauer, how are you, good sir? Connor is my hero, Kyle, and I will fight you for it. Need to lower my soil pH about 0.5. Can I do that with potassium sulfate, also low in K? Or do I need elemental sulfur? Potassium sulfate is pH neutral, DJM. So what you can do is apply potassium sulfate and ammonium sulfate. That will help, but it will require a pretty significant amount of ammonium sulfate. So I would probably push you towards the direction of elemental sulfur as well. I used to see crab apples grown on other rootstock trying to bloom in fall. To know what the rootstock was, but it was some attempt at thwarting apple scat. That's pretty interesting. And I think that's a pretty good sign that no matter what we do, we're always fighting a losing battle, and we're always this close to losing. Somehow, some way, we managed to stay ahead, but just a little bit. But that, by pure illustration right there, of a crab apple growing out of other rootstocks, of little, what do you call that? The grafting that takes place. That's how they saved one of those trees down in Austin, Texas, that one of those Looney Tune guys killed. I think it was an Eisenhower tree down in Austin, Texas area that Ross Perot actually helped save. What they did was that they grafted another live oak into this failing live oak to give it new foliage to bring that root system back to life. I mean, nature, pretty powerful. Do not apply pre-em in the spring, fall, and dormant seeding. Plan on applying post-spurt is needed after new seeds is emerged and mature. There you go. My spreader broke and I got crappy coverage. Did this give me red thread? Oh, you got me, buddy. Terry Finch, I was mowing my centipede this morning and noticed a small spot about the size of a serving platter that had some yellowing with small spots on the grass blades. Any idea what that might be? It could be a lot of things, Terry Finch. Now that it's cooling off, you could be seeing some instances of spittle bugs happening. It could be brown patch in your area. It could be the universe mad at you because y'all stole a victory from the University of Tennessee last night. Could be lots of things, but if I had to hedge a bet, it's going to be probably something disease related. You might be dealing with a little bit of surfacing and some grubs. So do a little test and check and see if you can rule out an insect issue. If not, then probably leaning towards disease. Some yellowing with small spots on the grass blades. Yeah, could be a leaf spot too. I mean, we're kind of moving into that time of year where you're going to get some funky transition like diseases. The other thing too, if you haven't applied, apply a fall high potassium fertilizer to your lawn, Terry Finch. No nitrogen, just potassium. Get it out there, see what happens. I bet it begins to make a little bit of a recovery from that alone. Let's talk Carbon X for pre-emergent. Pounds of N equals X number of months of coverage. Lush Lawns, I have a chart for it. I'm not looking at the chart in front of me. I don't have it memorized, but if you do split apps to get down like 6 pounds of total over the course, that would be like the equivalent of 1 pound AI, I believe, if you get down 6 pounds of CX with pre-emergent. And then whatever 1 pound of AI is as far as duration. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I actually use 1.3 here in Knoxville. Prodiamine is like butter. You want it in everything, but it can't give you a heart attack, too. That's pretty accurate. You're saying I should stop feeding my Bermuda now that it's cool and completely dismiss the reputation to feed my lawn while it's still green. Don't want no spring dead spot. Yes, that's correct. Do not be applying nitrogen to your Bermuda grass right now. I'm telling you, I've done it. I've done it many times over the years. There are lots of Bermuda guys I can refer you to. Every time I think about somebody fertilizing the Bermuda in the fall, I want to turn them over to my buddy Russell Skipper in Atlanta. He will tell everybody, because Russell's always the guy who keeps me in check too. When I'm like, should I throw down fertilizer? Matt, after this time frame, you don't need to be throwing down nitrogen because you're going to be dealing with spring dead spot. And it's true. I mean, it just is. Especially on younger lawns, it tends to get it much harder. MSM is hard on St. Aug. It is. It really is. Did the appear had an effect in my lawn? Yeah, Telecoleman. Well, what rate was that? I'm curious. I know you aren't a fan of granular pre-emergent for one of your videos. For the few yards you used it on, what was the effect? Don't trust myself to spray without over-underdoing. Gary Evans, I put down 8 pallets of it. I put down a lot of granular pre-emergent. I didn't have to deal with crabgrass again this year. I did my second. Now it was a split rate. I did my first one as granular, and then I did my second app as liquid, and that's where I got my 1.3 pounds of AI. And I didn't have to deal. I mean, it worked. It worked very well. So I can't really say anything. Got him from Owensboro. That's what I'm talking about. Man, down there at CX is still a construction site, so you wouldn't have been too impressed with everything that's going on. Grass Masters. I have to store my chemicals in a garage. Next, liquid fungicide, Q4. Will the freezing temps affect the chemicals? Grass Masters, let me tell you what can happen. It can come out of solution, and then it can be really difficult for it to go back into solution. So keep that in mind. Chris Gardner, Matt, is Carbonex the only granular I will need? I don't know. I don't know what you're looking for or what you have going on. What I can say is that it's relatively balanced. You know, it's got a 6:1 ratio. It has organic in, it's got synthetic in, it's got ammoniacal in, it's got urea in, it's got potassium, and it has micronutrients, and it has a biostimulant and a carbon source. So it's pretty complete. Now, that's not to say you might have deficiencies that exist somewhere else that I'm overlooking. You may be dealing with super high pH. Then you may need something to acidify the soil. You may be dealing with a buildup of salt content. You may need calcium sulfate to flush it. I don't know, Chris. It's impossible to say. I'm going to go on a limb and say, no, it's not the only granular you will need. But it was designed in mind to replace a standard granular fertilizer application, because you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck out of Carbonex than you would a bag at 2803 from with biosolids and urea from Site 1. Matt, can you discuss tank mixing and azoxy and PPZ? Yeah, so fill your tank halfway, add your azoxy, add your PPZ, shake it, and then fill it back up all the way to the top. So that's all you got to do, man. Let's see here. Whoa. Whoa, I like the taste, the rainbow of ferts. Can you make it less obvious that you like to hear yourself talk? I love each and every one of you. I mean, it is. I love all of y'all. Y'all are hilarious. Oh, can I recycle wood ashes from my backyard fire pit and then apply it to the grass? Yes, LZ USA, you can look up the analysis of wood ash. I believe it's like a 001, something like that, maybe a 011. Yes, you can apply that. It's only going to have about 5% carbon in it, where wood ashes were burning in a very oxygen-rich environment. You know, some like biochar comes from an oxygen-free environment. So there is no oxygen. That's why the pyrolysis takes place. That's why you have such a high percentage of carbon content in it. This is like ASMR. Come on, dude. Hello, any suggestions? Hello, any suggestions on liquid pre-emergent for long term? Thanks a bunch. MTS, yeah, I did a lot of videos about it. Pro-diamine is what I'm typically recommending right now. My issue is that, let me tell you what is going on with the pre-emergent technology we have available to us as lawn care applicators. We don't have enough technology. The only new product that's come out in terms of pre-emergent technology is Spectacle. Spectacle cannot be used on cool season grass. We're running out of options. We have Tenacity, we have prodiamine, dithiopyr, and pendimethalin, which are all the same family of products. And there's nothing else that's going to give us any kind of long-term successful control. Even Tenacity isn't good enough to be able to put into a regular rotation. So this is my begging and pleading. If anybody from the chemical manufacturing industry is paying attention, we need new pre-emergent technology, or we're going to ruin pre-emergent for everyone. I'm off my soapbox. Thank you. Matt, when do you consider a lawn established so you can cut back on watering? Is it after 2 mowings or after everything is up and germinated? Hey, thanks, Paul Manicone. Usually I will do that before or right at the first cut. That's when. I do it really, really, really quickly. Start stressing it early. Bios impact, RGS, Humic 12, Microgreen, and Aerate. There you go. There you go, Willie. Yeah, I would start with RGS and Microgreen. I have been collecting my own sewage after eating high iron food. Texas Wilder. Oh. Texas Welder, I haven't seen your name in the chat in a really long time, and I'm glad you're back, sir. You came in strong. With that sample Carbon X schedule you just mentioned, how many pounds of N per year are you recommending to apply? I think that came out to like less than 2.5, something like that. So it would be like 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. So 2. Matt, hey, I hope to meet you next year, Ben. That is for sure. Aside from collecting soil samples for analysis, anything I should be thinking about doing in warm season grass this time of year? For diamond went down 915. Now I feel like I'm twiddling my thumbs. Okay, yeah, there's a lot you need to be doing right now. First, yes, prodiamine is good that it went down, but you need to start thinking about what your follow-up application is going to be. Simazine could be a good one. After you get down a Simazine application, what are you going to do in January? Get down atrazine. Atrazine would be a great one to apply in January. So this is when you really need to start paying attention to your post-emergent weed control program. And I'm using the triazines there as post-emergence just as much as I am pre-emergent, because you will get post-emergent activity out of it based on the way you apply it. So lower volume applications of triazines will give you better intensity on post-emergent control. Blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, collect your soil samples. If you've got to focus on any kind of pH remediation, you get it done. Also, pay attention on your post-emergent, because let me tell you why. When people talk about how you have an actively growing lawn that's thick and healthy, it helps resist the weeds. One of the things in that statement that will, quote unquote, help resist the weeds is the competition. You've got actively growing plants out competing new plants that are trying to establish themselves. When you have dormant grass, it's not actively growing. It's not growing at the rate a weed would. So it doesn't have that competition factor. Where it may be thick and tight and knitted up, it doesn't have that competition factor to outcompete a weed. So pay attention to your post-emergent programs. Also, recommendations for killing Virginia buttonweed in St. Augustine. Some of the recommendations are a little on the pricey side. And 3-way doesn't seem to have done anything after 2 apps. 3rd coming soon. Yes. What I like to run on St. Augustine is a light rate of Speed Zone Southern and a full rate of Celsius. That has always been my favorite one. Don't fertilizer the Bermuda. Put some SOP on that Bermuda grass now, not nitrogen. That's what I'm talking about, gentlemen. That's what I'm talking about. Did I see Ryan Noren here? What's up? Look at my business partner here, John Boards. Everybody show John Boards love. Say what's up to him. All right, everyone. I am going to have to call this. It is 9:59. I got to get in there and interact with my kids and see what's going on and get this ready thing to come to a head. Ryan North, thanks for tuning in. Lawn Care Nut, Alan, we need to talk about you coming on live, doing a live show with me. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. I truly appreciate it. It's now a good time to apply fungicide like propiconazole to prevent early spring issues like spring dead spot. If not prop, what other options? Yes, RBL Jackson, if it's something you know you have history in that lawn, here's the thing. Are you going to be able to time it correctly? I'll tell you right now, no, you're not. You can try it. You can apply it now and see what happens, but you're not going to time it correctly. I know I keep saying I need to go, but I just want to keep going. Would you recommend applying potassium sulfate in the fall, or should I wait until April, May to apply? Tony, tell me what turf type. If you're talking about cool season grass, wait till spring and apply it in like March, April, May timeframe. If you're talking about warm season grass, get it down now. I sprayed St. Augustine with Armada on Friday. Can I spray with Spectator safely tomorrow, Monday? Yes, you can. You should be fine in that regard. Also, rates for azoxy and PPZ. It depends on your formulation. If you're using a 22% active ingredient, azoxystrobin, you want 16 ounces to the acre when applied in combination with the PPZ, assuming it's a 41% active PPZ, propiconazole, you want to be applying it at 16 ounces to the acre. Big thanks to everybody. Like John Borden says to the GIE, thank you for all the support for Carbon Earth. If you haven't, check out the website, check out the pre-order page. I'm going to put the link again down in the show chat. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I love you so much. Thank you for the laugh. Everything. Can you make a video about storing all the herbicides like loopers and granulars? Yes, I can probably do something like that. What's up from Fort Worth? Thank you, thank you, thank you. If I keep doing it, I'm going to read all these. Applied 2 pounds of K-Mag, potassium mag sulfate, 3 pounds of ammonium sulfate, 21 of my pH of 7.7. How do I know how much of this I need to apply to help lower my pH at 1.0 to 6.7? Chad Fleming, check out my video on ammonium sulfate. I give a table right there that will tell you how to, it'll give you the rates of ammonium sulfate you need to apply to drop your pH a certain number of percentage points. All right, everybody. I love you so much. Thanks for tuning in. This is the one I'm going. Everyone have a good evening. Take it easy.